What's up? We are back at the CEO Pulse podcast where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Another Mindset Monday series with my co-host, Justin Thorstad. Chicka-bow, chicka-wow-wow. Psst-bow, chicka-wow-wow. How'd you like that one?
That was good, man.
Yeah?
That was good. Yeah, it was different from last, so, changing up a bit.
You got to mix it up, man.
Yeah,
It can't be boring.
No, I get old and stale.
So, Mindset Mondays. This topic is sponsored by Justin here, but I think he has his moments. Sometimes he does sometimes he does real well. So he wakes up on the right side of the bed, I guess. But I think it's it's important to have this level of awareness when it comes to vision, right? We always talk about vision. We talk about purpose. We talk about, what's the meaning of our space, in the world, right? And that can be a big daunting question. And if you break it down, really bring it into looking at things from within, from who you are, from where you want to get to, and from where you can have the most impact as an individual. I think things can be a lot simplified, but you can't do that without a vision. And this quote just kind of got me, right. You got to have a vision to have a future. A man or woman without a future will always revert back to his or her past. It's the simple way to put it, right?
Absolutely. And to add on to that, like a man or woman must have a purpose in life, like something that pulls you out of bed in the morning, something that calls you forward. Because absent a purpose, we seek pleasure. And so if you don't have a vision, that you're defining yourself by who you're becoming, by that vision of a future that you're going to have, and a purpose that's in alignment, you're going to seek past pleasures.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think everyone can resonate with that. Like something about that just aligns as truth because we've done it. You've done it. I've done it. You've done it. Like that's just what we do. And so that is in and of itself the full value of having a vision backed by a purpose. Like when you got a purpose, okay, this is who I am. This is what I am. This is how I serve humanity. This is my contribution to the collective while I'm here on this plane and this earth, whatever your belief systems are about what happens when you die. And so having that purpose and every day getting up and wanting to fulfill that purpose, to see a need, fill a need, like something that lights your heart on fire, something that just ignites you, empowers you, inspires you. And I do believe like you can assign that to something. You can say, well, this is what my purpose is just because it feels good. That's good and great. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a whole nother level of conviction that comes along when an idea gets a hold of you instead of you creating an idea. And I'm not saying one has to be over another or one is better than the other. I'm just saying there's just two ways to go about this because nothing in this world has any inherent significance or meaning. It's all assigned. So whether you create something in your imagination as a purpose and you move forward with that, or something just comes into your awareness, a calling, and that pulls you forward, either way is beautiful, right? And so with that purpose, that mission of this is who I am, this is what I am, this is how I serve humanity, this is my contribution to the collective, and then let me use my imagination to create a vision of who I'm becoming and what that future looks like so that I can mentally and emotionally rehearse that future success, connect to it as if it's happening now. I'm literally creating a new personality that can make a new personal reality. But I got to get clear on what that's about.
Well, I think having that sense of direction gives us power, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't mean power over, the world or other people, but self-intrinsic personal power.
Yes, power from within, empowerment.
Yeah. And I think there's a big right now, this day and age, this talking from a societal standpoint, I think there's a crisis going on where people feel unempowered. They feel like everything's out of control, and sometimes I fall, I jump on that bandwagon as well. But it's almost. It's crazy to see it happen time and time again, but it's almost like a lack of awareness that you can own your personal power. You can actually, take charge of the actions that you do take, the actions that you do not take, and then carve that path, right, to wherever it is that you want to go. But if you have no idea where that is, if you have no idea what that looks like, how the fuck are you going to get there?
You're not. You're aimless. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's like taking I use an analogy of like a cruise ship.
Yeah.
On the cruise ship, it has a bunch of things and all the passengers. It also has a captain at the helm and a crew. Right. They got a voyage map. They know exactly where they're going. Yeah. And based on information, they know how much fuel it's going to take, how much food for everybody, and they can time the precision of arriving at their destination within fractions of minutes, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're that cruise ship and you have that voyage plan, you have a captain, someone that's managing and monitoring this and to keep you on track, because you're going to deviate, right? Your chances of success are extremely high. However, if you haven't defined a purpose and a vision, the chances of you being successful and just stumbling upon it are zero. Like, it's just not possible. So what is your chief aim in life? You know, Napoleon Hill talks about that a lot, your chief aim. And Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale talk about success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What's your worthy ideal? Where are you going and why are you going there? Not to go get something, not to create a mass wealth so you can have power over, simply empowerment. So that moment by moment, I'm choosing my state of being, which is empowered, which is inspired. And I'm moving forward and I'm contributing, because givers gain. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, from a healthy state of being, give towards the collective consciousness and not receive something like kind in turn.
Yeah.
That's the law of reciprocity. Givers gain. But you've got to define what that is for you individually.
Well, think about our natural wiring, right? And then let's take a psychological standpoint on this. We're wired for survival.
Mm-hmm.
We're not wired to thrive. We're not wired to feel joy, happiness. We're not wired to aspire. We're not, that's not natural wiring that we have. I mean, if you take it back to, evolution and the beginning of man, we're wired to survive. There was a big fucking saber-toothed tiger trying to eat me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the natural default is always going to be that survival state.
Totally.
I know in my heart that vision is what gives you the power to get out of that survival state. Otherwise, you're going to be in that survival, even if it doesn't feel like it. If you're just if it doesn't feel like you're in that survival state, right? You're still just going back to the stuff that you know how to do, the stuff that you're wired right to do, which is just okay, cool, get through the day, do the thing, and then come back, do it all over again, and then stay on that passive survival state, right? But if we don't pick up any consciousness as to where we're at there, and then collect the pieces of this image of what can be, right? Creating a vision after it. There's going to be nothing that takes you out of that state, right? You're always going to be caught in that space. So I think that's the power of vision. Having a vision for yourself of what your life can look like.
Totally.
What's the potentiality behind it?
Potential realities.
Yeah, how big can you go on it? And hell, if you get to that point, fuck. I mean, why not think a little bigger? And play with it. But I think more, it gives you direction. That's for sure. But I also think that it keeps you out of that default survival state that keeps you doing the same stuff over and over again.
100%. So I love what you said about way back when. So the ancient part of our brain, the limbic system, that is hardwired for survival. It's like the reptilian brain. You know what I mean? It keeps the systems going. The heart beating, the lungs breathing, right? And so that is hardwired for survival.
Yeah.
Maintain the species. Yes. But the beautiful thing about us human beings is we have this part of a brain that no other species that we know of has, and that's the prefrontal cortex. That allows for thought. That allows for metacognition, imagination, memory, will, intuition, perception, all of these different higher mental faculties that are available at our disposal. I mean, most people are living just through their five senses, as somehow that's some accurate gauge of reality. You know what I mean? But that doesn't take into consideration quantum physics and things of that nature. But anyways, without getting off on a tangent, like, the beautiful thing about the imagination is we can create an idea, a worthy ideal of our future, of who we want to be, of what we want life to look like, what we want it to be about in all areas, not just within ourselves, like the amount of inner peace, joy, love, abundance. These are things that we generate and cultivate from within and then express outwardly, right? Okay, so how about first, how do I want my future to look like in the relationship I have with myself? How about the relationship with a honey, or the fact that I want a honey, or with my kids, or the fact that I want kids, my business associates, my colleagues, my masterminds, you know what I mean? My tribe, and my business, and my wealth, and my health, and like all of these different things. Like if someone's not sitting down to consciously create an idea for a vision of the future, You will be left with the memories of the past. And if you're operating from memories of the past, that means it's known, it's familiar, and now you're going to be predictable.
It's default survival.
Totally. And so, there's nothing wrong with that. We can't say that it's bad. It's just a way to operate. However, what do you expect to be different in your future if you're operating the same today as you did yesterday, which was the same as the day before that?
Yeah.
And then people are going victim to, oh, well, I just got to wait for my ship to come in, or when are things going to be different, or when the economy turns, or blah, 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 blah. And it's all bullshit because you create your own economy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're largely in the real estate sector, right? It doesn't matter what's happening in the market. You just adjust and pivot your approach to what the market is, and you adapt and overcome, and there's still profit to be made. I mean, if values plummet to zero, can you still make millions? Obviously. If we have a surge and spike in pricing, can you still make millions? Obviously. So it's not the market, is it? It's you and your vision of what you're becoming and what is your purpose here. How are you providing value to the collective?
Yeah.
Because with that, you can adjust and have new perspectives, get new information to be information that's fulfilling your purpose and realizing your vision.
Yeah, it's adaptability, right? At the end of the day, like it's one of those things that you need to have now more than ever. A sense of direction, a good sense of direction, because everything is gonna feel weird. Have you seen that the Metaverse movie? You don't watch movies, but the Doctor Strange. It's a new movie, and it's all trippy.
Okay,
like I love that kind of stuff. All right, but anyways, it's a weird ass movie, right? So it's like mixing a couple of different universes into this one melting pot. They jump from one to the other. That's really what just economy and society feels as a whole, right?
Yeah,
so there's a lot of things that are moving. There's a lot of things that are shifting. Now, being adaptability is huge. It's a skill that you must have now more than ever. You have to be able to adapt, to see the potential pivots. Where do I need to come in and then move my strategy or do something else? That's on the pragmatic side of things. Now, direction though. Direction is what keeps you grounded and really with that traction on the as you're going through the process of things. You got to have that direction. That's only given to you by vision. Nobody's going to give you that. Like, for example, if I were to adopt your vision, right? I might roll with it for a while, but if it's not my truth, if it's not really aligning with my essence of who I really am, how long is that going to last? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's why it's important to create your own thing. Before people jump into conclusions and vision is it's a lifelong thing. It's not. Your vision can change. Your
moment by moment.
Your purpose can change. We're dynamic beings. We're always evolving. You come across new information, new emotions, new opportunities, new things. Something pivots. Maybe your vision that you had in your hand breaks, but you have this one that's 10 times bigger now. That's just moving you through the through the path. So it's not about having everything figured out, right? When you sit down and then I want to have, the vision is this, and it's going to be very, very rigid, and that's what it is. It's not a fucking business plan. It's a vision, right? It's a sense of direction that draws you in that.
It's a living, breathing thing, right?
Yeah.
And so it's allowed to change, adjust, adapt, evolve at any moment in time when new information comes in.
Yeah.
Because to think that, okay, here's the vision, it's got to be this, now you're imposing limitations in this little box. Yeah. And since most people
you're operating from your context. You're leaving the world's context out of it.
Totally. And yours is just one of infinite number of contexts, right? So okay, Raf. But now people watching this will say, okay, great. So I got to have a purpose and create a vision that encompasses that purpose. But I don't know what my purpose is. And how do I define my purpose? Well, that's a hell of a lot easier than it sounds. Because sometimes it could sound like this big, daunting, or even esoteric concept. And it's like, oh, where do I start? What I've experienced, the experience I've had of myself in creating a purpose and a mission is simply this. I started with my pain points. I started with what were the most painful things in my life that I transcended, overcome, saw a need, and filled it, right? So my thing was, I was successful as an entrepreneur, just as a realtor, self-employed, and but how I got there was super painful, a tremendous amount of sacrifice, and in fact, all facets of my life, and I mean all facets of my life, suffered for me to get there. And what I realized through going through personal development, reading books, hiring coaches, man, I don't know how many hours I've spent studying. And now I love that process, and how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I spent. What I came across in our last episode, I alluded to that, was I decided to start a real estate team because I wanted to teach people the fundamentals of business, because I figured that out. That was relatively simple in comparison to figuring out me.
Yeah.
Why was I the way that I was? Let me assess where I'm at. What are my pain points? What have I struggled with? What have I transcended? What am I still transcending? And then I realized, man, if I would have had more help or support or a mentor that came to me and pulled me out of my shit, I would have been so much more successful, so much faster. But more importantly, I would have been living in a state of abundance. I would have had inner peace, more joy, more love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, why don't I just go do that then? It's something I enjoy doing for myself. It's something I enjoy sharing with others. So my purpose is, simply put, it's something that I've defined, and it's to share principles, ideas, strategies, and concepts that I have actual experience with and have implemented and used, to share those things with other people to help them transcend wherever they're at and where they want to go. Helping them uncover their purpose, identify that, articulate it, write it down, and then create a vision of what your life would look like fulfilling that purpose.
100%, man. When it's really powerful when you have something that clearly defined, right? In the beginning, it's not gonna feel like that. It's not gonna feel, and this is just setting up realistic expectations. You're not gonna, if you're trying to figure out what your purpose is, what your ultimate vision is gonna be like, you're not gonna walk into it and then know it all right out of the gate. It's just, it doesn't work that way. It took me years to figure out these two words: empower entrepreneurship.
Beautiful.
Empower entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So it
How
took
long
me.
did it take you to go from out here to shrink it down and synthesize?
I don't know, maybe 6 years of thinking through this thing to
but
wake
here's
up
the thing,
and sum it up into something like that, right? But when you have even get a notion of where you want to head, right? Get a notion of that thing that just puts that fire in your belly.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have it all figured out. That's why it's a vision, right? It changes, it's dynamic. Begin with even just the fact of that you can't put yourself out of that survival mode state, and not just financially but emotionally, perspective, energetically, you know what I mean? Once you let the possibilities just float, it's incredible how good you become at dreaming stuff up.
Absolutely.
I don't know, I enjoy that part.
Well, you start playing with your imagination more and identifying more with it than the information you're bringing in through your five senses.
Yeah.
And so, creating a purpose for your life and a vision is something I'm huge on. It's what I coach. It's during my seminars on all of that. And the most common thing I get people saying to me is, well, Justin, I don't know what that looks like. And it's like, no, you haven't given yourself permission to let go of your self-imposed limitations, to flirt with, just entertain the idea. Because as soon as an idea comes in about what you want, you identify that you are your mind. It's not something I have. It's something I am. That's the fallacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People have an idea that comes in, and then they start kicking it out because it doesn't fit the self-image.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too big. Oh, and I can't have that. Well, who am I for people to follow me? Da-da-da-da. And I know all those because I went through them too. You know what I mean? Like, we are more alike than we are dislike. But the other thing is that people are like, well, if I create my vision, what if it's not right? What if I do it wrong? And it's like, no, that's wrong. You got to give yourself permission to have a shitty rough draft. You know what I mean? Like 100%. Whatever you start with is beautiful and perfect and right in that moment. Now you just got to understand that this is all subject to change. As I start playing with this, I might have more elevated thoughts. I might go in a completely different direction. But guess what? I'm on a trajectory at least, which is better than not even getting started. So if you give yourself permission to have a shitty rough draft, just know that with that rough draft, you can improve upon it. You can elevate it. You can evolve it. At least you got something to go off of. But people don't want to make a mistake, or I don't want to do it wrong, so they don't even get started. Yeah. And that's the biggest shame of all.
That's a big part of it. I also think that another part of it is the fact that people are afraid to dream. Yeah. Afraid. Who am I to dream? Like, they can do it. I see it happen on social media, and then all the highlights and all the But who am I to dream that way? It's not for me. It's
so common. My response to that is, who in the hell do you think you are to not do that? Yeah. Like, who do you really think you're not? Yeah. And you don't really know who you are. You don't know the upper limits to your potential until you get on that path and that trajectory and you start moving forward. by defining a vision and a mission and a purpose in life. And like, this is what I want to be about. And I'm going to start becoming that to the best of my ability. I'm going to do my best moment by moment, day by day. I'm going to have my shit days. I'm going to make mistakes. But all of that is going to teach me more information to be information to where I really, truly desire to go. And where I even desire to go, that point B is going to grow and evolve.
Well, that, and then one thing that you must absolutely adopt, right, as you're going through this process is that these are not taglines. These are not punchlines on a cardboard and you know, sitting on your wall or written on your mirror or anything. It's stuff that you have to own. All right. So whatever you start crafting, before you put, you know, I guess I don't want to say before because we have the ability to make drafts, right? But before you solidify it, actually write it in stone and make it part of you. Just be conscientious about whether or not it's something that lines up with your truth, meaning the person that you want to become. When you start putting stuff out there, you have to become that person, right? It forces you to start developing yourself. It forces you to start growing depending on the size of your think. If your think is big enough, it's gonna demand a lot more than you know, something that's regular and you know, not extraordinary.
Yeah. So if you don't have that extraordinary idea, that big, huge vision of point B, cool. Like, start with something small. Start with the low hanging fruit. Like, maybe your vision is, okay, I'm 25 pounds overweight, and you know, I'm not very active. No. So I'm going to start with 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 100 jumping jacks. And you did that every day. Like, start with a small vision and start just getting into action.
Big difference. It's not a goal. It's not a goal. It's a vision. I want to emphasize that, right? Okay. Because it's not when you can crush a goal, right? You can just, you know, do the thing, get to that goal and whatnot. But what a vision does, it's just, a vision is perpetual. It doesn't end once you reach that, you know, that checkpoint. Like, cling. Yeah. Goals do. You reach a goal and then, shit, I got to come up with a new goal. Yeah. A vision tends to be perpetual. It tends to be something that just keeps you, you know, going and going and going and gives you that energy that's just, you know.
Yeah. And as a pragmatic part, you know, because you're really good at this, Raf, is like, okay, you can take that vision and you can break that down into 90-day, let's say, action time frames.
Exactly.
Like, okay, let me break this down to something bite-sized that I can wrap my head around and I can feel like I'm progressively making movement towards that. Now, those things are subject to change. When you get done with that 90 days, you might realize you want to go a different direction and the vision adjusts a little bit, but at least you're in motion. Well, at least you're discovering more about you and the process and what you're about, who you want to be, and what you want to be about.
Yeah, in that example, for example, the vision would be, you know, better health, right, or fitness or whatever, and then the goals are whatever you're doing in the middle, you know, to make it happen. But it's important, right, to have that thing that's gonna just fire you up. It's gonna motivate you. It's gonna, you know, help you wake up in the morning and then do the things that you don't want to do when you don't feel like doing stuff, right? You go back to that thought. You go back to that imagery. You go back to that sensation, that emotion that it brings you. Just even thinking about something like that. You know, what is it? Where's some place that you want to make a dent in? And trust me, when you find even a taste of that, just your brain breaks. It's just, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, man, but
it's just something to experience, right? Because like when I read my vision, it invokes a certain emotion, and that's the whole point. Is because an emotion is really energy and motion. Break down the word, emotion, energy and motion. And so if you don't have something, a vision of your future that's invoking new emotions so you can think greater thoughts, because we don't think greater than how we feel. So if you have no vision of the future, it's not evoking any emotions, you're left with the emotions that you experienced yesterday, which means you're going to think the same thoughts today, which means you're going to just recreate the same old thing you've always created. Yeah. So then to have a new reality, you're going to have to create a new personality, a new way of thinking, a new way of feeling, a new way of behaving, because most days you won't feel like going out there and working. Yet if you've got a vision that invokes a certain emotion, now you have elevated thoughts and you start becoming that personality. And it feels really fucking amazing, especially compared to if you take inventory of how you used to operate when you didn't operate this way and how that felt, and the desperation, the scarcity, and the lack, and the anxiety, and the doubt, the worry, the fear. Like, you'll give all that up and start moving forward. And if it doesn't work out, you know it's okay, because it just means that you're actually being pointing in a new direction where you're really going to get certainly what you need and likely what you want. And it's just such a elevated state compared to the past.
I think failure is standing in the same space and hating it. Not move. You know what I mean. Not moving from that, forward or sideways or whatever. Just standing in the same spot and then spinning on that wheel and then hating it. If you love it, it's a different thing, right? You're in the middle of success. But if you don't, there's always things that can be done. And we don't even have to overcomplicate the power of vision or how to craft a vision, right? Just see yourself. What do you want to be in 3 years? What do you want to be in 5 years? What, like you said earlier, what does it look like? What does your relationships look like? Your finances, what do they look like? It doesn't have to be so, specific, because what you're doing is you're creating this I don't want to say map, but this thing that's going to just pull you towards it.
Absolutely.
Right. And then the goals and all that stuff is a different thing. But having that vision, just having an awareness of where you can be, where you could be, where you want to be, it's gonna do some stuff, especially if you nurture it as you're going through the process. If you sit there and then, okay, cool, man, that trip that I'm planning, I mean, that lifestyle where I want to take 3 or 4 vacations a year, it's gonna be so bomb. And to think that I'm only 3 years away from that. And that's a vision. How is it gonna go? I mean, that's where the goals and all, the rest of the stuff comes in. But that vision is what's gonna pull you there. It gives you the power again to get out of that state of just monotonous motion that most people go through.
Absolutely. Well, and so some people don't have a purpose. They don't have a vision, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna set some goals.
I'd want to say most.
Most, yeah. Okay, if you set up goals without knowing what purpose you're fulfilling and what vision you're attempting to create, like now you're just setting up a bunch of shit to go do. Yeah. You're not going to be inspired. You're not going to feel like it. You'll fall out of love with that idea when you have the motivation to create the goal. That's going to dissipate really early on. And so when you have a purpose, and this is how I'm going to fulfill it, and this is the vision of a life I'm going to live by fulfilling this purpose, now when I set up goals, there's a lot of energy behind why I'm doing these goals. I'm inspired to do this. It's something I have to do. It's something I want to do. I get to do this. And so your whole state of being as you approach those goals is completely different than if you didn't have the mission, you didn't have the vision, and you're just setting up goals to hit metrics.
Yeah.
Like that's just so empty in comparison.
Yeah.
And with that emptiness, if you don't start realizing progress, because I just set up some goals just because I wanted to be busy, and you don't make progress, which you likely won't, you're going to return to past pleasures.
Yeah.
You're going to return to your past that's familiar, comfortable, and predictable.
Yeah.
And, hey, listen, if that's where you're at or that's what you've experienced before, cool, so you can understand and that resonates, but you can be different with it. And listen, you talked about failure. Like my definition of failure is one of two things. Not even getting started, so you're not on the field, you're not playing, you're on the sidelines, heckling the ones that are playing, which is a fascinating concept. Or failure, item number 2 is you quit.
Yeah.
Like you get moving, and then you feel defeated, and you throw in the towel and just give up.
Yeah.
So if you're on the field playing, and you got no quit in your game, by definition, you already are in a successful state of being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's so simple.
When, not if. You get to that point where you feel you fulfill that vision that you're trying to get. But I mean, ultimately, it gives you the power, right, to choose your path. You can't do it without direction.
Yeah, and then so talking about okay, well then what is success?
Yeah.
So most people think that okay, when I get that goal, when I achieve that thing, then I'm successful. And it's like that's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
However, I like Earl Nightingale's definition. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Yeah. Which means you get up in the morning and you look at your goals because you already set that intention. You look at your schedule and your action plan. And at the end of the day, you check off those boxes of things that you did because you said you were going to do them. You won your day. Yeah. And by definition, you are successful because you progressively realize the worthy ideal by taking the appropriate steps that you think are necessary. And along the way, those are going to change and evolve, and you get more information. However, you're making forward...
part of salt and pepper, though.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You're making forward progress. Yeah. You're making movement. You're building inertia, momentum. Yeah. And that in and of itself is successful. So you can walk around in a successful state because I'm winning my day. Yeah. It's not when I get that, then I'll be. Because then you're always going to be searching for things to fill on the inside because you don't feel successful.
Well, I mean, I think that's just an autonomous reaction to the daily, right? Okay, I'm craving something else. I don't know what that is, but it's often, a lot of times that's triggered because you haven't given yourself the time just to sit there and think about, the you, think about your truth, think about what your individual vision could be, what your life by design, and it's a cliche term, right? But it's real.
It's real.
What that could look like, right? What kind of path do you want to walk? It's crazy.
Well, it's like my seminar. It's called Success by Design. You've got to create your imagination first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you got to awaken to your true potential.
Tell me one thing that wasn't created in imagination first.
Everything has been created twice.
Yeah.
First, the imagination. If you can hold it there with faith, belief, and conviction
1000%.
long enough, you'll hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
So.
It's crazy. It's math, right? Brother, close us off with that. Can you pull out that quote?
Yeah, sure.
Because I mean,
what started this?
Yeah, I thought it was very powerful.
Yeah,
and I liked it.
Wait, that's something I wrote.
Well, I don't. Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, yeah. Regardless, I'll share it. So it's really two things that I learned and just brought it together. So basically, a man without a vision has no future. Mm-hmm. A man with no future will return to his past. And a man absent of purpose will have no choice but to seek pleasure. So that means then that if you have not imagined a vision of your future and defined your purpose, you will return to past pleasures.
Yeah. Love it.
So create the purpose, assign the purpose, create the vision, and just move forward day by day to the best of your ability. That's all you can do is your best.
Imagine. Have the courage to dream, because that's where everything begins, I think.
Absolutely.
Imagination.
Yep.
Justin, where can somebody get a hold of you?
Yep. JustinThorstad.com or myself, 602-348-8534.
Sweet. One day, bro. One day you're going to get swamped with phone calls.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
You have to change your number. And if you want to find me anywhere, I'm pretty active on social media. Find me at Rafael Cortez, CEO. No, I'm not going to give up my cell phone number. But,
I'll give it to you, don't worry.
But yeah, go to our YouTube channel. Do us a favor. If you like the content and you like the stuff that we're talking about, especially Mindset Mondays, right? Subscribe, like, and share. Do us a favor. Help us spread the word. If you feel like you know somebody who might get, use out of what we're talking about, spread it to as many people as possible. So
share the love.
Share the love, yeah. That's what it comes down to, right? And we'll catch you on the next one. Until then, stay focused. You got this. Boom.